Right, now let's move on. We are still on question 5. Now let's move on to question 2.2. This is question 5. I'm still reminding you it's question 5 according to the questions that you were given, right? The list of compiled questions that were given. Right, so here we are required to solve for x without choosing a calculator. Right, so let's look at question 2.2.1. right? So we have 2x raised to the power of 3/4 equals to 16, right? So already when I say this, right, I can divide by 2, right? The first thing that I'm going to do is to divide by 2, right? And then this and that will cancel each other, and then I'm going to be left with x raised to the power of 3/4. 16 divided by 2 is equals to 8, right? So it's very important to note, right? It's very important to note that as a side, right, 2x 3/4, this is not the same thing as 2 raised to the power of 3/4 times x raised to the power of 3/4, right? Why? Because this is not in brackets, right? So this would have been true. So what is true is 2x raised to the power of 3/4 is equals to 2 raised to the power of 3/4 times x to the power of 3/4, right? So this is very important, right? This is very important. Great. And then now we have x raised to the power of 3/4, right? We have x raised to the power of 3/4. So if we want to cancel that exponent, right, we are going to multiply by the inverse. So it's going to, remember, we need to solve for x. So we have 3/4, and we are going to multiply by 4/3, which is equals to 8 times, 8 raised to the power of 4/3, right? So what we can do now is this and that will cancel each other. 4 and 4 will cancel each other. So we are going to be left with x, right? Now we are going to be left with x. Great. So what we can do is we need to now simplify this, right? We need to simplify this now, and what we can do to simplify this, right, we can simplify this very simple, right? So this is going to be the same thing as it's going to be cube root right. This is going to be 3, and this is going to be 4, right? So this is the same thing as having if you have the root, if you have m here and then you have a n, it's the same thing as a n all over m, right? So that's how we can work with this. So this is the same thing as 16, right? If you simplify this, you are going to get 16, right? And that's your final answer. It ends there, right? It ends there. You could have left it here if you can't solve it further, which is still not a problem, but x is now equals to 16, right? Now let's look at 2.2.2, right? Let's look at 2.2.2, right? So we have 5 to the power of x plus 1 plus 5 to the power of x, which is equals to 150, right? So what I'm going to try and do, I'm going to try and write this to have the same base, right? So I'm going to try and break this down. So this is the same thing as having 5 raised to the power of x, 5 raised to the power of 1 plus 5 raised to the power of x equals to 150, right? And then now I can take out this and that. It's a common factor, right? So I can take it out and have 5x, and then I'm going to have into 5 plus 1, right, equals to 150, right? Great. So now let's move on to the other side. So let's just take this, copy, and now we take it here, right? So now we have 5 raised to the power of x into 6 equals to 150, right? And then when we divide, we have to divide by 6, divide by 6, divide by 6. So now we have 5 raised to the power of x. This and that will cancel each other. So 150 divided by 6, it's going to be 25. And then now you have 5 to the power of x, and you can raise 25 to 5 squared, and this is going to give you x is equals to 2, right? Because remember, when you have the same base, what do you do with the exponents, right? You equate the exponents. So this is where you end. This is where you end, right? Now let's look at another question, right? Let's look at 2.3.